fade in on an orange sunset, viewed through the haze of polluted air. Titles fade in. Centuries ago, the planet Ley-to was destroyed. Those who survived were scattered across the galaxy. Even now, their descendants seek vengeance from their planet's killers, the Eridai. A small single-pilot fighter craft screams through the text, diving out of the sky. This craft is called an arrow. We follow the arrow as it blows through the thick cloud cover. On the other side is a dense mining operation, derricks and drills, both familiar and otherworldly. From up here, its many occupants look like an ant colony. We pick up speed, gradually overtaking the arrow and tilting up until we're looking through its transparent cockpit window. Inside, at the controls, is a pilot with a striking zigzag of iridescent yellow paint under his eyes. Not paint, tattoos, brighter than we could achieve here on Earth, especially on such rich, dark skin. He is, for our purposes at least, human, in his late 20s, with a need for speed. This is Sun Roll, portrayed in the film by R.J. Kyler, right hand of the Ley-to vessel Stone Hammer.
Arrows, weapons free!
We pull away from the cockpit, still falling at relative speed, so that we can now see the cloud that it has just dropped through. All at once, 24 more craft just like it burst through the cloud cover, a whole quiver's worth of arrows. The camera's fall comes to an abrupt stop and pans sharply to follow as Sun Roll's fighter blows past and the rest of the squadron seconds behind. Only now do we cut for the first time to a view from the surface. A pair of miners dressed in safety gear looks up at the strange activity in the sky. One of the miners appears to be human, while the other is a tall, broad-shouldered reptilian humanoid. His gear bears the insignia of the Sphinx Corporation. The reptile takes his helmet off as he looks into the sky. His eyes widen with shock.
Oh shit. Raid!
Cut to inside the cockpit. Red lights are flashing on the controls. We can't read the language, but it could only be saying one thing. Pull up! On Sun Roll's face, a giddy smile. Cut to the surface. Another poor worker can only watch as this burning arrow falls towards him. In the cockpit, the warning lights and klaxons are overwhelming. To anyone but Sun Roll, who grits his teeth and pulls back on the controls hard. The craft's nose levels out less than 100 feet from the ground, just above that poor miner's head, but below the reach of the facility's anti-aircraft batteries. The backdraft blows the miner off his feet. Now level to the ground, Sun Roll pulls the trigger on his steering column and opens fire. His arrow strafes a row of gun turrets. They erupt in a series of fiery explosions, sending workers and armed security personnel flying through the air. We stay low, as one of the propelled bodies lifts his helmeted head up from the scorched earth. He, too, looks human, mostly. Only all of his colors are pastels rather than neutral earth tones. His hair is pale blue, his skin is hot pink, his pupils are slit-shaped, like those on the reptile we saw earlier. This is Kit Alta Brio 59376, Eridai Infantry Grade 2, portrayed in the film by Manny Jacinto. Someone reaches down to grab his shoulder and lift him to his feet. It's another of the big reptile people, this one in the soldier's uniform like Kit's. These uniforms bear both the Eridai and Sphinx Corp insignia. Come on, Boot! We've got to protect the inventory! The reptile readies her rifle and then starts running towards a nearby warehouse. Kit shakes off his shock and follows close behind, rifle in hand. Above, 3 arrow fighters make a low pass of the area. Cut to inside Roll's cockpit.
Eridai troops are starting to rally at the fuel depot.
A woman's voice comes through a speaker in Roll's helmet.
Copy, Sun Roll. We're making our landing.
Back to the surface, the sprinting Kit comes to a stop 100 feet shy of the warehouse. He and the rest of the troops crane their heads skyward to watch as a dropship descends from the clouds towards the warehouse roof. Mounted turrets on each flank spray bullets in Kit's direction. He dives for cover and finds some in the shadow of the broad-shouldered reptilian soldier who'd helped him to his feet just moments ago. The reptile takes the hits, cries out, then falls dead. Kit rolls out of the way just in time to avoid being squashed by her body. Sparing only the briefest look at his unwitting savior, Kit climbs to his feet and continues his advance towards the building, as do a dozen or so other soldiers of various shapes, sizes, and species. Ahead, the Ley-to dropship settles on the warehouse roof. Cut to the rooftop, where the dropship lowers a ramp from its belly. In a coordinated movement, 5 human-like Ley-to descend the ramp, each wearing worn hand-me-down armor. 4 of the 5 new arrivals all have glowing yellow tattoos on their faces, like the kind we saw in Sun Roll. The woman leading them, however, has a distinctive look. Her armor is a slightly different color and configuration. Her face tattoos are a different style and in red rather than yellow. This is Sol-Na, portrayed in the film by Jodie Comer, a woman in her early 30s with fair hair, hard eyes, and today, no mercy. Sol-Na and her team advance across the roof. A rooftop hatch pops open nearby and Sol-Na snaps into action, fires a single round towards the crack in the hatch. The hatch drops shut. Cut to inside the warehouse, which is full of tall metal fuel drums. In the center of the warehouse, a body falls from the top of a narrow ladder. We cut to floor level and see that the fallen soldier has a fresh bullet hole clean through their head. A shadow is cast over the dead soldier's body. We pan up to see that it belongs to Kit, who's just arrived, sweaty and panting. Kit looks down at the body, keels over, and hurls. On the roof, Sol-Na stands over the hatch. One of her troops, the chiseled daughter Sid, portrayed in the film by Rebecca Quinn, kneels down next to it and pulls a grenade from her belt.
Set to minimum yield. We don't want to damage the cargo.
Daughter Sid nods, twists a dial on the grenade, then pops the hatch open. Cut to below. Kit is joined by more soldiers of different humanoid species. They all train their rifles up at the hatch. Plunk! Down comes the grenade. Before it hits the floor, grenade! It bursts at eye level to Kit, which is chest height for some of the bigger aliens. It sends out a lateral blast of concussive energy. No fire or heat, just a ripple of light like a splash in a pool of water. The bigger soldiers take the burst like a punch in the chest, knocking them back, but not out. Kit, the runt of the unit, takes the impact like a clothesline to the throat. He flips over backwards, banging the back of his helmet against the hard floor. In a storm of bangs and muzzle flashes, Sol-Na drops down the hatch, followed by daughter Sid and one more of their cohort, the equally imposing Brink, portrayed in the film by Louis Tan. Brink and Sid spread out and stick each of the nearby fuel drums with palm-sized devices, while Sol-Na provides cover. Another wave of guards charges into the warehouse, and she effortlessly shoots holes into most of their heads. She misses only one, a tall humanoid with an anteater-like face and tongue. The anteater charges towards her, growling, tongue out. She grabs the tongue, wraps it around her fist, then yanks down on it, meeting his chin with a rising knee. The anteater rolls onto his back, and Sol-Na puts 2 bullets in his chest for good measure. While Sid affixes a device, one of the Eridai regains consciousness and, still prone, aims his rifle at her back. Before he can fire, he gets the top of his head blown off. Sid looks back and sees that Brink has killed her would-be killer. They share a wink and a smile. Nearby, Kit weakly rises to one knee. Without hesitation, Sol-Na whips around, kicks him 3 times in the head, rapidly, like a champion kickboxer. Down he goes. No need to waste a bullet on this wimp. Brink tags the last barrel. Sol-Na speaks into a comlink.
We're done here.
Cut to the rooftop, where the rest of the squad has been hard at work setting up charges and running cables from the dropship to all 4 corners of the building's roof. Sol-Na, daughter Sid, and Brink climb through the hatch back onto the rooftop, and the entire crew loads back into the dropship. The ship takes off, pulling the cables taut. On board, one of the other Ley-to flicks a switch and blows the charges on the roof. Now the dropship lifts the roof clean off the warehouse, strafes off to the side, and drops the whole thing on the ground. Sync's miners scatter to avoid being crushed. Inside the now open roof warehouse, Kit struggles to awareness, blinking the sun from his eyes. In the dropship, Sol-Na taps a control, and below, the devices on the tagged fuel tanks whir to life. They each shoot a metal cable up to the belly of the dropship, which lifts them into the sky. Kit watches as the dropship flies away with the loot, then passes out again. On the edge of the solar system, Sol-Na's dropship and the squadron of arrow fighters zoom around to the dark side of a dwarf planet, where their mothership awaits, the Stone Hammer. Once an elegant cruise vessel, it's been modified over centuries until it looks more like Detroit than the Titanic. Its surface made jagged by the addition of railguns and cargo bays, and a hangar bay where the fighters and the dropship swoop in for a landing. The Stone Hammer boasts 2 sets of engines, massive ones and aft that resemble rocket boosters, but are currently powered down, and slender nacelles from a newer and totally separate propulsion system. Cut to the bridge of the ship, a command center where a half-dozen Ley-to operate controls while surrounded on all sides by holographic displays. Standing in the center of the room is Father Roll, portrayed in the film by Sterling K. Brown, a poised, middle-aged man of easy authority. Someone at a display says,
"Landing party is aboard."
To which he replies, "Go, FTL!" We cut from the top of the ship to its heart, where a crew of dusty workers tends to a large sphere of metal and glass through which we see a flurry of colorful cosmic energy. A young worker, no older than 15, struggles to pull a heavy crank. An older woman comes to his aid, and they pull together. It clicks into position. The woman, Mother Woe, portrayed in the film by Michelle Yeoh, roars over the noise into the engine.
Go, FTL!
Our view zips into the inside of the energy core to a nanoscopic scale. We focus on an impossibly small engine, small enough to sit on the nucleus of an atom. It glows, and we see thousands more around it do the same thing. Outside, in space, we see the Stone Hammer's slender new nacelles glow hot, and after what feels like a deep breath, it snaps like a rubber band into the distant stars. Title card: Last Flight of the Stone Hammer.
In 2022, 2 writers came together to finish what Universal Studios couldn't. A cinematic universe of monster movies called the Dark Universe. After 3 years and 30 scripts, their project was finally completed. Now, in 2025, they're back to attempt what's never been done before, a completely original cinematic universe entirely in podcast form. I'm Dalton DeShane.
And I'm Dylan Roth.
And you are now entering the Pod Universe.
Welcome to the Pod Universe. This is the podcast where we attempt to create an all-original cinematic universe of sci-fi movies, one pitch at a time. I am your roguish, piratical host, Dylan Roth.
And I am your doesn't know what a nacelle is host, Dalton Deshane.
A nacelle is
Nacelle.
So like when you look at, say, a jet engine, or the nacelle is what the turbine lives in.
Okay.
It's a term I mostly know because that's also what they call the things on the sides of the ships in Star Trek.
Right.
So that is kind of the accepted term for, like, that's a warp nacelle.
Ah, okay.
But it doesn't have a turbine. It has something else that we don't have in there. Anyway, if there are any other sci-fi or science terms in here that you'd like to find over the course of the show, I would love to help with that.
Well, this sure is a sci-fi pitch, Dylan. We have started with a science fiction bang, very different from our pod people.
Oh, yes.
As was the intention.
I wanted it to be as different as possible. There was a lot of temptation to try and take this sequence and just make it the trailer that we would put on the Josh Gondelman episode.
Yes.
But there is just, I do believe that you could present this in 3 minutes if you were actually showing it, and I didn't have to describe all of the craft and the settings and the aliens and everything, and that could just be the trailer. And that to me, I think a good opening should kind of encapsulate what the movie feels like, and I feel like this does the job.
Yeah.
However, I could not do that for that episode.
Yeah, so normally in a film, it would be all visual indicators.
Yes.
That would not take time to describe, so you could get that out sooner.
That made this very hard.
Yes. And one thing that I do want to do, and we'll do this after we do our predictions, because we want to get into those, but I am someone who, I think you and I have talked personally about how I bounce off fantasy really hard. But also, I think I am a person who my brain doesn't accept lore very easily.
Okay.
It's very easy for it to slide off me. And I think especially in an audio medium, and I knew this going into this, that this was going to be a struggle for me, as we set up new races of aliens and people in different camps. Normally, if I can see those things in a movie, it's much easier, or even if I'm reading and can go back and reread at my own pace, I can internalize those things better. But just in case we have people out there who, again, are listening in real time, before we jump into Act 1, I do want to make sure we go back and recap all of the key information that is
it
given.
It goes
in
by
that
really
cold
fast,
open.
right? And as I'm reading it, I'm trying to keep it at a clip to keep the excitement going, right? So,
but it's also just hard when you can't see it,
Right.
So I want to make sure that at a certain point we go back, we recap who the characters are that were introduced, what are the other key details. There were corporations named, there were, what do we need to see in our heads as we go forward?
Right. For those of you who are listening for the first time, because I'm really hoping to get some of my old Star Trek review readers in here and some other sci-fi folks, we're trying to market each of these as a new thing, the way you would when you do a new movie. We're going to discuss what's come so far. We're going to get some of the expectations that our existing audience has, and then we're going to go into reading Act 1 of the script. We're going to do Act 1 of the script and the first half of Act 2 on this episode, and then we will finish the script on next week's episode.
Yes, that is correct.
And in between, Dalton's going to let me know what is and isn't working. And if Dalton's big complaints are, I want to know more about this, I'm going to punch them in the nose. Because it was
if you want more length.
It was so hard to get this thing down to 1,800, 500 words. It was so fucking hard.
That's the business.
I know.
That's the business.
My hope is that everything that's here works on its own, but it will break my heart. It will break my heart and or really piss me off. If it's this whole thing feels kind of thin, Dylan. I'm well, it didn't before. I did my best.
The challenging
challenge.
thing of any form is to work within the form.
Well, this is the first time I've ever been writing anything and thought this might be better as a novel.
Oh, interesting.
A thing I thought I would never do. But I have longer drafts of this where I have a lot more description, a lot more detail. Not even just more plot lines and more stories, but I have just denser description and stuff. I made sure to save all of that.
Yeah.
Because that would be in the novel version. Because when I'm writing the first draft, I'm putting everything I can think of on the page, right? Anything that I think might be good, might be useful. This is a lot leaner than it was.
Yeah.
Keep that in mind, Dalton.
Well, I probably won't say that the script needs to be longer, but what I will probably need as we go along are clarifications, like I said, about lore and who I need to be keeping track of. Because that is one of my weak points as a genre.
Sure.
I'm always the kind of person, when I was growing up, the fantasy that I liked was a kid in King Arthur's court or something where there is a there is a point of view character from my world that I know has like the same reference points that I do, and then we see it through their eyes.
Right. And you need an isekai type situation where where you have somebody who can be your entryway, who needs everything that would need to be explained to the audience can be explained to that character.
When I just get dumped into a new world, a lot of it just kind of washes over me.
Well, the good news is, you know what? I'll save it. I'll stow that.
Yes. Let's go into our predictions, because I know that you were like, oh, well, people aren't going to have anything to make predictions on.
Right, because this is only the second entry in our new continuity, in our new universe, and it is all original characters, and I've been very explicit that this is set far away from Earth, and you're not going to see any of the same people. So I didn't think there was going to be a lot of very specific guessing, but it looks like there was a lot of conversation.
Yeah,
about what
there was definitely a lot of conversation on Instagram. The Discord was popping. We got a few replies on Blue Sky, and people, for the most part, this stuff is based on stuff. Like, it wasn't just throwing darts at a wall. Like, people were basing their predictions on what happened in Pod People, particularly the twist at the end about the Pod universe. Which it may be for new listeners, the one thing that maybe we should set up, you don't need to listen to Pod People.
Yeah, this script works completely on its own.
Yeah, all of these scripts are meant to be independent, but there is a background fact to our universe that we're writing in that you should know, which is that the universe in which all of our stories take place was created artificially in a lab by a universe we call the Prime Universe. And so
this happened on present-day Earth.
Yes.
What essentially happened was that a company that was trying to create a quantum computer accidentally created the conditions for essentially creating a save state of their own universe that branches off from ours around 2020.
Yes.
And so that is the setting of our, all of our stories are going to be in either, at least as far as we can think of right now, are going to be in either set in the Prime universe that gave birth to this universe, or the Pod universe, which is the one that they created in this accident.
Yes, but I think mostly we are aiming to set stories in the Pod universe.
Yeah, that's why the show is called the Pod universe.
It is also, it's our home universe in a way. So people were basing their predictions on that revelation. They were also just basing it on your previous pitches, because we do have people that have been listening for 75 episodes and
plus
know
the
your
bonus
voice
pod, they've
pretty
heard me talk a lot about space science fiction.
Yes, we have definitely on the bonus pod, we have heard you for the past year and a half talking about Star Trek, and myself talking about Star Trek. Me, much less educated. And so they were basing it on that. They were also just basing it on the tidbits you had given them in our first episode, just like that this is going to be a space opera. I think you said somewhere between Battlestar Galactica and something else. You were kind of throwing some reference points around.
Guardians of the Galaxy, but as I was writing, the thing I was aiming for the most above all was Pirates of the Caribbean, The Curse of the Black Pearl.
Interesting.
Yes,
okay.
That is, and I will tell you why. First of all, it is a romp. It's a really fun adventure story that is also scary, and it's also sexy and romantic. But the number one thing from that movie that I like and that I was trying to imitate is every single character in Curse of the Black Pearl is likable and entertaining. You've got good pirates and bad pirates and cops and civilians, right? And they're all at odds with each other, right? They're all chasing after the same thing or trying to kill each other. They're all a joy. The villain of that movie is Captain Barbossa. Everyone loves Captain Barbossa to the point that he had to become the Vegeta, right?
Yeah.
That they brought him back in the fucking last second of the second movie to make him a protagonist in the third. So my aim was to try and capture what made that movie so light and fun despite its heavy material, which is that you just would want to hang out with every one of those people.
You heard it here, folks. Dylan says cops are a joy and that he wants to hang out with them.
Commodore Norrington is a complete wet blanket, and I'm not for what he's for, but I think of the line where you will be contemplating every possible meaning of the word silent as the grave. I think about it all the time. It's a great performance. It's a really fun character. And he, too, ends up joining the good guys in the second movie.
Yeah.
Because they're all just fucking enjoyable. You don't want to get rid of them.
I say, I remember a single second of a Pirates of the Caribbean film.
Oh, come on. You gotta remember the first one.
I saw it in theaters when it came out, and I was probably 14.
For all the reasons why you might not want to like it in the current world, mainly just, Johnny Depp just kind of makes me feel bad to think about it all.
Yeah.
It's a really, really good adventure movie. And it has, for my money, a top 5 21st century adventure score. Probably top 3.
Score. I'm not a pirates person. But anyway.
Yeah.
Let's get into the predictions. Another thing that people were basing their predictions on was the tease that we are going to be ending this phase with War of the Worlds. And so we had a couple people, Retold Will on Discord and also Sylvie Witchen de Craft on Discord, who predicted that this might be a way to get tripods. The tripods from War of the Worlds, which are the... I guess vessels the aliens arrive in, or the aliens themselves? I guess it's their vessels, right?
It's their vessels, I think, in the book and in the most adaptations.
Yeah. This might be our way of getting maybe one of your species might pilot some kind of tripod, end up on Earth, something like that.
I'll tell you what,
explore that.
I read that prediction and immediately wish I had done that. We can talk about more stuff later, but listen, the idea of like, oh, that would be a cool thing to do.
Yeah, and War of the Worlds will be like, well, now that the Stone Hammer has had its last flight, they've started using tripods. Both Ben and Dan Higgins on Blue Sky think that the creation of the pod universe will play into this. Ben thinks that the change in quantum physics has stopped warp drives from working, which has fucked up interplanetary travel for trade, aid, and war, causing political fallout. So taking that little nugget and seeing how it affect all of space, while Dan thinks that the invasion from the Prime universe has sort of sent out flares across the galaxy and alerted different alien species to what's going on.
Cool ideas.
So yeah, that we might see the impact of that. A lot of discussion on the Discord about what kinds of aliens would be in this. Zfig says that we will have one large, cuddly, and marketable alien, our ET. While Adelaide's defense attorney says the aliens will scare the absolute shit out of me. So the kind of both ends of the spectrum there. The Craft Dreg says it will be two groups of opposing human colonists, so it'll mostly be human. And Fox agrees, saying that they will be basically people like most Star Trek aliens. As we've seen, I don't know. I know that Manny Jacinto is pink, but it sounds like otherwise pretty humanoid.
The idea you could basically Manny Jacinto's character would be somebody you're just doing with makeup effects and like maybe a wig, or maybe we just recolor his hair in post.
Are any of these like a big worm creature or something?
Not so far. What we've seen so far is mainly we have sort of like humanoid, like if you were going to have a first person shooter set in this world, you would not have to give them like different controls. Yeah. These are mainly humanoid aliens, but they're humanoid aliens in sort of anthropomorphized way. I'll be honest, I'm not really good at imagining like creative extraterrestrial character concepts. It's not a huge priority in this script.
One of the great things about a screenplay is that you don't have to imagine.
Right. If the production designer later comes up with ways to have like really exotic alien designs and they're all wearing these identical Eridai uniforms, that's cool. For my purposes, they all essentially function as people in the way that we think of as people.
All right. Gimmick Got Bored on Instagram thinks that one alien species has figured out they're in a pod universe and has developed a religion centered around the Prime universe. So again, people making pod universe connections.
That's a very cool idea.
Roxanne, Priestess of Manon on Discord, says that you will put in some big space nautical battles and that this will basically be your riff on Master and Commander, which from the Pirates of the Caribbean thing sounds
and the
like
trailer,
it could be true.
Right? That we put out on socials and in the previous episode where we talked about a reimagined The Happening with comedian Josh Gondelman. I have tipped my hand on that one. And as you know from our Star Trek conversations on the bonus pod, I love naval. I prefer in general space as the sea versus space as the sky, but I do a little bit of both of it in here.
Okay. Finey Hammer Last on Discord. Wait, I think that was on Instagram. I don't remember. Finey Hammer Last on, wherever you are. I wrote down your prediction, which is that the third act will set up a game-changing super weapon based around a quirk of physics in this pod universe, which both sides fight for and both lose, because this is an anti-war story. But which can be picked up in War of the Worlds when we need to close out the phase. And that does sound like a very Dylan thing to do.
Does sound like me, yeah.
It also sounds like just honestly something we would both do.
It sounds pretty cool. Again, we love how creative and clever and just generally like deft about stories our audience is. So,
and we love a MacGuffin. too.
We do love to
We
MacGuff.
love a MacGuffin. But yes, we got so many great predictions. I'm sorry I can't include all of them. There were a lot of great ones on Instagram, especially. So sorry if yours wasn't chosen. They were all read and they were all delightful. The last one I have is Fighter Class of 03 on Instagram. Says that it will end with the two warring sides coming to an understanding and uniting towards a common enemy. The planet Earth.
It also sounds like me.
Yes, absolutely. And would tee up War of the Worlds. So it sounds like some, cinematic universe shit.
Mm-hmm.
So those were our predictions. I am interested to see what this is. I will probably be light on criticism on this because mostly I am going to be reading for understanding and comprehension.
Okay. I mean, I'm somewhat relieved by this because I'm very nervous because you're not a space sci-fi person.
I am not.
And this is my first solo script in 5 months.
Yes.
In between, we've written 2 damn good screenplays.
Has it only been 5 months?
It's only been 5 months. Can you believe we wrote 2 features in 5 months?
It feels like it's been like a year.
I
since
know,
our last
but I
solo pitches.
checked, and this was Field of Nightmares was April. No, that can't be. Was it April of last year?
No,
maybe no.
I
Then
think it was April.
Then it was April of this year is when we recorded Field of Nightmares.
Yeah,
and then from there we went on to doing Dark Legion, Hell on Earth, which was a bear, but turned out better than I could have ever hoped. Pod People turned out really good, but those are 2 scripts we wrote together.
Yeah,
this one was just me.
Someday we'll get a break.
Someday,
but
we're gonna make that a reach goal on the Patreon.
Yeah.
If you get us to $10,000 a month, we'll take a break,
and you won't get content.
You won't get anything during that period of time.
The more money we make, the less content you get. That's our Patreon plan.
We'll take 1 month off to celebrate making like a survivable amount of money, and then we'll never stop again.
So maybe just for my sake, but I'm assuming for some percentage of the listening audience, let's recap the key universe building details from the prologue. We don't necessarily have to recap all the action.
Okay.
But who do we need to know? What are the factions? What are the things we need to notice about their design or these corporate logos? What planet they're on? What are the things that we need to separate in our minds?
Okay, so we have our 2 factions. We have the Ley-to, who lost their planet centuries ago.
Okay.
And we have the Eridai, who are responsible for the planet being lost.
Okay.
The Ley-to are the ones who are doing the big raid down on this mining installation. And we meet basically all of our Ley-to principals right here. We have Solna, who is the leader of the ground assault. She's played by Jodie Comer in the Imaginary movie.
Mm-hmm.
And she has different color face tattoos than everybody else. They've all got cool face tattoos.
Just the Ley-to. The Ley-to are the ones with the face tattoos.
The Ley-to have the cool face tattoos. They're all the Ley-to we've seen have gold, where I say yellow, but really I think in my head I'm imagining more of like a gold gel pen in my head. Face tattoos, but hers are red and they're arranged a little bit differently. She's at least the ground assault. She's badass. Up in the sky, we have Sun Roll, who is a cocky pilot, because you got to have one of those.
Sure.
You got to have a cocky pilot. Otherwise, you can't do fun cocky pilot stuff.
Mm-hmm.
And he flies a cool fighter craft called an Arrow, and he leads a whole squadron of those. And we also get a quick look at 2 of the elder leaders. Officer is not really the right word, but of their ship, the Stone Hammer, which is described as being like more like Detroit than the Titanic. Like this has been modified. The
city of Detroit?
Yes.
Okay.
It has been like modified, and it looks like it's jagged and everything. It's like a weird cobbled together mess. And the person that we see on the bridge of that ship is named Father Roll. You can expect there's probably a relation there. That's the character played by Sterling K. Brown in my imaginary film. And then down in the heart of the ship, which is the engineering thing, we see Michelle Yeoh's character, whose name is Mother Woe. That's the Stone Hammer. That's the Ley-to and their ship, the Stone Hammer. Down on the surface, we get introduced to the people that they're killing and stealing from. That's the Eridai, and it's an installation from the Sinks Corporation. And for the purposes of our story, the Eridai and the Sinks Corporation are essentially interchangeable.
Okay.
Well, think about this as you're going to get probably enough context in here. I never actually spell it out, and so I don't want to spell it out to you here. I don't want to give you any information you can't glean from the script. Sure. The character we meet down there who survives is named Kit Altabrio 59376. Kit for short, K-I-T-T. Manny Jacinto's character, and he is just kind of a wimpy, hapless security guard.
Okay.
And he runs into the fray. He narrowly avoids dying a couple of times by total accident. and then gets kicked in the face and watches the Stonehammer crew make off with the loot.
Cool.
And that basically brings us up to date.
Is this mining colony? Is this the Eridai home planet, or
No.
this is just some installation in a small backwater?
It's like
world?
a planet with a number. It's like Sinks 3318 or something. I'll
like
say
where
it
the
later.
xenomorph came from.
Yeah, it is not the Eridai homeworld.
'Kay.
It is just another planet being mined by the Sinks Corporation.
Okay, I think that clears things up.
Cool.
Before we jump into Act 1, here is a brief word from our lovely independent sponsors.
This episode is brought to you by RPG Zine Club, a new subscription membership by Plus One EXP and a global community of indie RPG designers. Subscribers to RPG Zine Club get fresh new tabletop role-playing games every month, either as PDFs or in print, plus access to an online community of people with whom to play and talk about them. These are brand new games that have never been available before from some designers that you might recognize and some who are publishing for the very first time. The team at Plus One curates the games directly from inception to delivery, so there's a consistency of playability and quality control, but because the games are coming from a variety of designers, you'll also be getting a variety of styles and voices. They've got multiple tiers: story for narrative-focused RPGs, adventure for more tactical and mechanically focused RPGs, or you can just get them all and play everything. Plus One EXP's goal here is not only to provide a steady stream of fun new games for their audience, but also to change the way RPGs are financed and sold. To quote their About page, "Our hope is to help amazing designers find great players who love their games, and to help amazing players find great designers whose games they can love." I think this rocks, frankly. I think this is a really cool model. And I would encourage you to visit rpgzine.club or search for RPG Zine Club on any search engine and check it out. This seems like just like a really exciting way to do one of the things that we love to try and support on our show, which is independent creators supporting independent creators. That was a terrible sentence, but the feelings are real.
And we know you like RPGs out there.
We know you do, and they have their own Discord, but you're welcome to start up games or whatever in our Discord if you're hanging up there. We know we love when you hang out there. Thank you so much to Plus One EXP for supporting the show, and thank you, our audience, in advance for checking them out, because it seems really cool. Cut to the hangar bay of the Stonehammer. Inside, the resident Ley-to, each sporting similar yellow face tattoos, welcome the raiding party. Pilots and Marines climb out of their craft and are immediately greeted by cheers, hugs, and a few intense kisses. This crowd is ready for a rager.
If you listen closely, one of the pilots actually yells, "Carry."
Sun Roll stands on the nose of his arrow, hoists his helmet into the air, and lets out a howl. The crowd beneath him howls right back and then lifts him off his feet. Now he's crowd surfing. Towards the back of the hangar, the dropship bay door opens and Solna's squad trots gleefully into the waiting arms of their shipmates. Daughter Sid and Brink stroll out arm in arm, giggling from the high of combat. Solna walks down the ramp after them, alone. She walks into the crowd, where she's acknowledged with nods and friendly nudges. She looks up when she hears a booming voice echo through the hangar. "Where is my son?" Everyone's attention turns toward the balcony on the hangar's second level. At the railing stands Father Roll, wearing a big ol' smile on his face. The crowd cheers and then passes the surfing Sun Roll in his direction. Father Roll hurries down the metal steps to meet him on the lower deck. They embrace. "Well done! Well done!" Cut to Solna in the crowd, surrounded by gleeful Ley-to. Back to Father Roll, who has one arm over his son's shoulder. He raises the other and calls out, "Stonehammer!" Roars from the crowd. Father Roll slowly lowers his hand, and the crowd lowers their volume. "As the head of our body, it is my duty to congratulate our pilots and soldiers on the successful raid of 12 deuterium fuel cells from the mining outpost on Sinks 23118. A short burst of cheers. "But I can see that particular duty has already been attended to." Laughter. Ley-to dumps a bottle of ale on a pilot's head. "I want to take a moment to acknowledge the architects of today's victory. Our left hand, the ground assault squad leader and tactician who has performed magnificently since her transfer from the Gull's Wing, our sister Solna." A polite scattering of applause, which Solna acknowledges sheepishly. "And commander of our Arrow Squadron and my own blood, Sun Roll! Roll, roll, roll!" Father Roll raises his son's hand high and beckons Solna to join them on the balcony. She does so. No one much cares. "Our brave brothers and sisters have dealt another blow to the Eridai, the heartless brutes who destroyed our homeworld, and collected due interest towards their unpayable debt to the Ley-to. As I knew they would. I couldn't be more proud of our family's accomplishments over this past season. We've raided 4, make that 5 Sphinx Corp mining facilities, evaded or defeated all efforts to capture or destroy us, and most importantly, we have forbid the Eridai to forget what they did to us. When our planet was sacrificed to the Sphinx Corp's greed, our ancestors pled for justice. The Eridai tried to silence them, but the Ley-to refused to be silenced. When they took away our voice, we learned to speak in a language they could not deny. Today, our ancestors' voices were heard, and they will continue to ring out for centuries to come. Our pain is eternal, and so shall be our vengeance. The crowd cheers, crescendo into mania. Father Roll steps back from the railing, his duties fulfilled. We're back to celebrating the raid now, and the crowd wastes no time getting into it. Someone has spent this whole speech rigging a loudspeaker on the dropship with some DJ equipment, and they hit the music. Sunroll dives back into the fray. Party on. We follow Father Roll as he exits the hangar and walks down a corridor, with the music fading behind him. He hears footfalls behind him. Someone is walking the halls alone. It's Solna. Solna, what are you doing out here? You should be back there celebrating your victory.
No, thank you, sir. I'd rather get some rack time while my bunkmates are out.
All right, then. Good night. Father Roll stops in the hall at the entrance to his stateroom. Solna passes him by. Solna. She stops short, practically at attention. Father Roll rolls his eyes. Let's talk. Father Roll and Solna enter a stateroom that was once the captain's quarters, back when this vessel was a space liner. Now it's the sleeping quarters for at least 4 people, as well as a conference room. In the center of the room is a high-tech holographic conference table. Well, high-tech to us, but it's seen centuries of wear. It displays the stone hammer's current course through space. He makes himself at home. Solna stands at ease in the military sense. Solna, nobody likes you.
That's true, sir.
Everyone respects you. You're a rare, talented, and disciplined warrior. I caught a transmission the other day and noticed your name's even made the Eridai's most wanted list.
Number 8, sir.
See, but what I don't understand is why you didn't tell anybody. We would have thrown you a party.
I don't want a party.
Which is why nobody likes you. So now here on the Stone Hammer, we do 2 things. We fight to avenge our ancestors, and then we celebrate having done that. Then we get ready to do it again, which I suppose you could count as a 3rd thing.
I suppose you could, sir.
And enough of this sir garbage, please. I'm not your superior. We don't have those here. We all have unique responsibilities, but we're a body of equals. The Stone Hammer is a family.
I'm sorry, that's not how it was aboard the Gullswing.
The Gullswing is strayed too far from the ways of our ancestors.
Respectfully, Father, they would say the same thing about you. Your ship spent far less time at relativistic speeds than the Gullswing did before we knew how to compensate for the time dilation. They may have left Ley-to at the same time, but your community is a century older than mine. It's no wonder they've grown apart.
Father Roll sighs. He begins pacing the room ruefully. That's the trouble with not having a homeworld anymore. The Ley-to are scattered across space, adrift on 100 different vessels, even experiencing time differently. We do what we can to remain Ley-to, but eventually we won't recognize each other. All we've got left in common is our pain.
That's why I was excited to come here. When I heard I was being traded to the Stone Hammer, I knew that was the best chance I'd ever have to make the Eridai pay for destroying our home. I'm honored to be a part of that.
Try being a part of this, Solna. Of us. The Stone Hammer is one body.
And if I prefer being my own body?
Father Roll shakes his head. There's no such thing here, Solna. Cut to a med bay on Sphinx 23118. Kit wakes up on a hospital bed.
Hey. Ow. What happened?
From inside his POV, we see Beepo, a little cartoon robot, pop into view, a projection inside his head. He speaks with the voice of Zach Callison, a.k.a. Steven Universe. Good morning, Kit!
Ow. Beepo, not so loud. My head is ringing.
That's totally normal. You have a concussion.
Ugh, great.
A nurse across the room notices he's awake and walks over with a tablet in hand.
Here's your bill and your discharge form.
The nurse holds a tablet in front of Kit's face. Before he can even read it, it scans his eyes and the nurse walks away with it. We hear Beepo's voice. Hospital bill paid! Your new balance is 228 clay.
228? I had at least $1,000 in there yesterday.
Don't worry. There's a great explanation for that. Your health insurance has expired! Cut to Kit walking home from the infirmary, past various uniformed miners and security trying to clean up the debris from the Ley-to raid. He arrives at a shabby dormitory. Kit slumps into an apartment that would make a Tokyo hotel room look spacious. Sitting on what might charitably be called a couch is Shifro, a 4-armed alien bodybuilder with a tank top and gym shorts. This massive man is voiced by Kumail Nanjiani.
Kit, you're alive. I thought you died in the raid, man.
Nope, still kicking. Where were you?
My unit was in the Southwest Annex. Didn't see any action. Bummer, right? Anyway, this came for you by courier. Must be important.
Shifro hands Kit another tablet. It speaks.
Kit Alta Brio 59376, the merchandise assigned to your unit has been stolen in its totality by a Ley-to raiding party. And, as the sole survivor of your unit, you are contractually responsible for reimbursing the Sinks Corporation the full value of all materials lost on your watch.
With no further warning, the tablet scans Kit's face. We hear Beepo's voice. Company reimbursement complete. Your new account balance is... Oh, dear. We cut to Kit's POV again, and an absurdly log negative number extends across his field of vision. Kit screams, then swipes at the air to dismiss the image.
What am I going to do? I could work the rest of my life and barely pay off the interest.
Damn, sounds like you should have done a better job protecting that cargo. Or at least kept more of your unit alive to split the bill with.
Kit collapses toward the couch. Shifro just barely vacates in time to avoid becoming furniture.
I'm completely fucking doomed.
Hey, what kind of loser attitude is that? We're Eridai, and that means we make our own destiny. Come from anywhere.
Become anything. I know. I'm trying my best, but nothing ever seems to work out.
It's all about your mindset, bro. You just got to be able to see the opportunities in life and have the will to take advantage of them. But since you're clearly having a rough day, I'll do some of your homework for you.
Shifro flicks his wrist and a holographic image appears in between him and Kit. It's a rendering of a majestic-looking military leader. She wears medals on her tunic and a crown of antlers that's growing out of her head. This is Commander Jana Kai Zozo, 22, portrayed in the film by Danai Gurira.
This is Commander Jana Kai Zozo, 22, of the cruiser Swift Sword. My crew and I have been tasked with pursuing the Ley-to raiders and reclaiming the property they stole from the Sinks Corporation. We're looking for able and experienced soldiers to join our boarding party. Enlistees will receive 10,000 clay up front and 10% of the value of any Sinks property they secure.
The message ends.
Hear that? It's an opportunity knocking, bro. The Swift Sword ships out at midday. Gives us enough time to squeeze in a workout before takeoff.
Us? Shifro, I've been in combat exactly once, and it didn't go great.
Are you not hearing me, man? This might be your one shot at getting out of debt. Look, I'll even go with you. God knows I should be living better than this.
Kit sighs. We flash to his POV and see that his account balance is already going down dramatically just from overdraft fees.
Yeah, okay.
Woo! Let's go! Hustle, bros!
Cut to a personnel transport, much nicer than the Ley-to's dropship, lifting off from the surface of Sinks and into orbit. Kit watches through a window as the transport approaches a sleek and beautiful Eridai ship, the Swift Sword. If the Stonehammer is Detroit, the Swift Sword is Dubai. It's nearly as long, but with much smaller, more efficient engines and armaments that fit neatly into its shiny surface. Inside, Kit stands alongside dozens of other soldiers in rank and file, including Shifro, looking up at a large holographic monitor of Commander Zozo standing on the bridge of the Swift Sword.
The raiders have been identified as the Stonehammer, by far the most prolific Ley-to terrorist cell on record. They're currently in possession of billions of clay worth of company property. As such, our orders are to capture, not destroy, the Stonehammer, and to recover as much of the stolen goods as possible. As for the Ley-to themselves, lethal force is authorized and encouraged.
There's a smattering of fist bumps and hell yeahs from assembled grunts, though not from Kit, who looks more nervous than anything. Shifro stands behind him, cracking his many knuckles. The display above switches from a view of the bridge to a mirror of the ship's trajectory on a 3D map. Zozo's voice continues as she describes the animated battle plan.
The Stonehammer has a head start on us, but the Swift Sword has a next-generation FTL drive. We'll be able to intercept them in under 18 hours. Their advantage is their highly skilled fighter wing. Their aero pilots are trained from birth to fly at combat speeds and can withstand G-forces that would flatten our most seasoned astronauts. Well, all but one of them, at least.
There are murmurs throughout the crowd. A few of the pilots are bunched together ahead of Kit, who's too short and too far back to see anything but the back of their heads. All we see is one of them affectionately ribbing one of their own. Kit leans over and whispers to Shifro.
Who's that?
The Swift Sword's new ace. They call her the Castaway.
Castaway's squadron will provide cover while the Swift Sword pulls alongside to release the boarding party. We will breach and capture the Stonehammer deck by deck.
The troops let out a cheer. Cut to the Swift Sword's shiny white engine room. Just as we did with the Stonehammer, our view zips through the surface of its engine core and we see the same nanoscopic engines light up. From outside, we watch as the Swift Sword glows and snaps into light speed. Cut to the Stonehammer's mess hall. It's morning, and 100 hungover Ley-to are in line for breakfast. Among them is Solna, who isn't hungover, but looks like shit regardless. She hasn't slept. In another corner of the mess, Sunroll sits on the floor reading a storybook to a group of smiling children. The book is called The Lost Shepherd.
But Trela, brave captain of the Lost Shepherd, vowed never to give up. She swore to avenge her world, to fight the Eridai for eternity, across space and time, until...
Solna takes a seat at the cafeteria-style table between two Ley-to who are definitely not her friends. Their nods are acknowledgments, not greetings. She looks down at her meal, which doesn't appeal to her. The lights in the mess hall turn from white to red. An alarm blares. Across the mess hall, Solna and Sunroll look at each other, then both rush off towards battle stations, as does everyone else. Cut out into the black. The stone hammer zips past us through warped, blurry space at superliminal speeds. Then, seconds later, the swift sword follows, noticeably faster. Cut to the stone hammer bridge. Solna and Sunroll step out of a lift in the rear of the room, which is occupied by a dozen crew at consoles along the walls. Father Roll stands in the center of the room, surrounded by consoles with push-button controls. Father Roll doesn't notice their arrival at first, preoccupied with the developing crisis. "Time to intercept!" A crew member answers.
5 minutes, 40 seconds.
Sunroll hurries to his father's side.
Eridai? How'd they catch up with us?
"I've never seen a ship that fast before. If their weapons outmatch us as well..."
It won't matter. They won't make this a shootout, not as long as we're carrying 1 billion clays worth of their fuel and equipment. They're going to board us, secure the loot, and then vent us all into space.
"Then let's start fortifying all hatches and probable breach points."
I've already got a contingency plan drawn up.
Father Roll grins devilishly. "Of course you do. And what about you, son? Got a contingency plan?"
We've been practicing some moves that'll make their pilots shit their spacesuits.
Father pats him on the shoulder. "Go. We'll buy you as much time as we can." Cut to the engine room, where steam blows, sparks fly, and pistons pump around the glowing spherical heart of the stone hammer. Mother Woe hollers orders over the roar of the engine to her cohorts. A miniature hologram of Father Roll appears on a display over Woe's shoulder. "Mother Woe, how much speed can you give me?"
I can barely maintain our current velocity. The EN drive is nearly at overload.
Intercut between the bridge and the engine room. "What if we kicked in the old fusion engines?"
You mean if I could even get them to start? That would give us more thrust, but the old engines don't have relativity compensators. Any speed we pick up would be offset by the time dilation.
Cut to the bridge of the Swift Sword, where Commander Zozo sits in a big, comfortable chair in the center of the room, facing a large view screen. Officers of various species, but in identical uniforms, stand at high-tech holographic consoles surrounding her, all facing inward. They don't look ahead, they look at her. Everything here is bright, shiny, and clean. Zozo watches eagerly as the stone hammer grows closer in the view screen. A yeoman brings Zozo a bubbly drink in a fancy glass. She nods at them. They bow and make themselves scarce.
Time to intercept.
2 minutes, 40 seconds.
Ready the forward weapons array. Boarding parties, prepare to engage.
Cut to a dark, cramped hold several decks below. Dozens of Eridai troops wearing spacesuits are packed in tightly, including Kit. His helmet is right up against the back of a much taller alien in front of him and against Shifro's chest behind him.
All right, let's go, baby!
He can barely see a small sliver of the small window into space against the far wall. We zip through that window and forward through hyperspace until we catch up with the stone hammer, then phase through one of its own windows to find Solna handing out rifles to a line of Ley-to. These are not uniformed soldiers. It's everyone who lives here, and most of them look ready, expertly checking their ammo and scopes. We see Solna putting a rifle in the hands of a nervous 12-year-old. She looks down at them and says firmly,
You're gonna do fine.
Cut to the hangar below. Pilots climb into their arrows. The deck gang loads ammunition and pulls fuel lines. Sunroll rallies his fellow pilots.
All right, arrows, start your engines.
The hangar's dozen fighter craft spark up and roar like motorcycles. Cut to the bridge, where Father Roll speaks with a hologram of Mother Woe. We're not going to wait for them to get into weapons range. Mother Woe, pull the brake on my mark. If we time this right, we can do some real damage.
To both of us.
If we don't hit them first, we won't hit them at all. A member of the bridge crew speaks into a microphone. Her voice rings over the PA.
Brace for impact.
Cut to the Swift Sword bridge. Zozo watches eagerly as she gains on the stone hammer. Suddenly, she starts gaining on the stone hammer way too quickly. They're going to rear-end the larger ship.
Hard to starboard.
The helm officer pulls hard against their controls and veers away to the right, but still clips one of the stone hammer's massive aft engines. Zozo and the rest of the crew reels from the impact. Below, in the hold, Kit and the space infantry fall over each other. Out in space, we see the Swift Sword skid out of hyperspace, smoke billowing from one of its own thrusters. It drops into normal space, overshooting the stone hammer by 1,000 kilometers. The hammer comes to a full stop, also banged up. That aft starboard engine has crumpled from the impact. Cut to the engine room. Mother Woe reads an alert message from a display.
We've lost the starboard fusion thruster.
Cut to Father Roll on the bridge. Like you said, it's no use to us anyway. Release the arrows! Cut to outside the Stone Hammer as Sunroll and his squadron blast into open space towards the Swift Sword. On Sunroll.
Fuck them up, arrows!
On the Swift Sword bridge.
Damage report.
One of our port sublight boosters is offline. The other two are compensating. Repair cost assessment incoming.
We see Beepo dance into Zozo's field of view. Oh, that was a close one. I'm so glad you're okay. You have been charged 5,320,543 clay for the damage to your ship. Your new balance is... Whoa! Zozo swats Beepo off screen, then points to the helmsman.
Close the gap and get us alongside. Launch the air wing.
Cut to space, where the Swift Sword turns towards the Stone Hammer and launches its own squadron of sleeker, shinier fighter craft. The arrows are already halfway to the Swift Sword and open fire the moment the Eridai fighters are in view. A dizzying dogfight ensues between the two squadrons. Most of the Eridai fighters are totally outmatched by the Ley-to arrow pilots, who are like fish in water. But there is one standout Eridai pilot who is pulling some impressive hairpin turns, the Castaway. We see her briefly in her cockpit, helmet obscuring her face. Meanwhile, the Swift Sword pulls alongside the Stone Hammer, their respective starboard flanks lining up like classic naval vessels. The Stone Hammer guns, each manned by an individual Ley-to, turn towards the Swift Sword and fire. Cut to the empty hangar, where Solna is leading a team that includes Daughter Sid and Brink. She opens her comlink.
Left hand reporting in from the hangar, ready to repel any boarding craft that try to land.
Cut to the bridge. Father Roll looks at the transparent starboard bulkhead. I don't think there's going to be any boarding craft. Solna! Rally everyone to the starboard side! They're not coming through the hangar! Cut back to the cramped hold of the Swift Sword. Kit braces himself. The wall ahead of them flips open into open space, looking at the starboard side of the Stone Hammer. The first row of Eridai soldiers each aims a handheld device in front of them and fires an individual zip line ahead of them. Magnetic pitons snag onto the Stone Hammer's hull. Their lines go taut, and one by one, the soldiers are yanked into space towards the enemy vessel. Once they're clear, the next row steps forward and repeats the same process. As each soldier arrives on the hammer's hull and magnetizes their boots, they pull a handheld cutting torch from their belt and start carving into the metal. Cut to the Stone Hammer bridge, where Father Roll eyes his monitors with awe. Right hand! We have a boarding party cutting into our hull. We need you to pick them off. Cut to Sunroll in his cockpit.
You want us to do a strafing run on our own ship? Okay, copy that. Arrows, you heard the head. Fripp, Lesh, you're with me. The rest of you, keep those ugly birds busy.
Sunroll and the other two arrows break from the swarming dogfight and blast towards the two capital ships. Back to the open hold of the Swift Sword. When it's Kit's turn to jump overboard, he stalls at the threshold.
You can do this. You have to do this.
Behind him, Shifro goes impatient.
Come on, Kit, don't wuss out on me now.
Shifro shoves him and Kit goes flying into space, flipping end over end and screaming to high heaven. Panicked, he fires a zipline off target, and it snags into the belly of Stone Hammer instead of the side. He's yanked towards the ship, but out of the path of the three arrows as they scream past, strafe the hammer at an extremely shallow angle, and pick a few raiders off the hull. Cut to Solna, running through the corridors alongside the rest of her squad from the hangar. As she runs, she looks at a display on her wrist, indicating where each raider is attached to the hull. They're mostly clustered on the starboard side, but she sees one outlier below, where Kit just connected. Solna stops and signals to her team.
We've got a new contact below deck. The rest of you, go ahead. Brink, Daughter Sid, you're with me.
Cut to Kit, all alone on the Stone Hammer's belly, cutting into the hull. He breaks through, and a burst of air escapes through the metal like a burst pipe. He keeps cutting. Cut to the battle in space. Eridai infantry, including Shifro, continue to zip line over to the opposing hull, where Sunroll's arrows continue to pick them off. And Eridai sees the arrows coming and tries to get out of the way, but is too slow demagnetizing his boots and is shot dead. The arrows are pursued by Eridai fighters, who are chased by still more arrows. It's pandemonium. One Eridai soldier fires his zipline towards the Stone Hammer, but its magnet accidentally gets drawn towards Sunroll's passing arrow. It attaches to the arrow's tail and yanks the soldier so hard his arms are ripped off his body.
Gross.
Cut to a dark cargo hold, lit only by the glow of a cutting torch melting through the floor. Kit crawls up out of the hole just barely big enough for his body. He collapses on the floor, exhausted from the climb.
Beepo, is this room pressurized?
You bet! Breathable air has been restored to this section. Kit pops open his helmet and takes a deep breath. He feels better already. He rolls onto his back and enjoys the relatively fresh air. His movement sets off motion sensors, and the room's overhead lighting illuminates a big cargo bay full of equipment bearing the Sync Corp insignia. Kit's eyes bug out. Now we see what he sees. Each item becomes marked by a monetary value, most of them in the 6 or 7 digits.
Oh, holy shit.
He wanders aisle after aisle of crates and gizmos before finally discovering the motherlode, a pallet containing the entire haul of stolen fuel tanks.
Jackpot.
A sound echoes through the cargo bay. He ducks behind a stack of crates. Across the cargo bay, Solna, Brink, and daughter Sid throw open a hatch and breach, checking each corner as they enter. Their view of the bay is obstructed by the stacks of loot. They fan out cautiously.
We know you're in here. Surrender and it will be quick and painless.
In cover, Kit draws a sidearm that's been attached to the back of his spacesuit.
Oh shit, oh shit, oh shit.
Brink creeps slowly past some cover and into Kit's field of view. Brink doesn't see him yet. Kit, shaking, aims his pistol at Brink. He hesitates. Brink turns around, sees Kit, and immediately raises his rifle. Bang! The shot rings through the cargo bay. Daughter Sid watches Brink go limp.
No!
Kit sprints for cover, smoke trailing from the barrel of his pistol. Sid rushes to Brink's side. He's dead, a hole in the head. Solna keeps her head up as she walks past the two of them, rifle at the ready. Kit, her prey, peeks around a corner to see Sid crying over Brink's body.
Oh, God.
Kit keels over and vomits onto the deck. Sid hears him, looks up with tears of rage. Kit ducks back into cover, panicked. Sid rises to her feet and grips her rifle tight.
Eridai bastard!
Sid sprays bullets through the crates where she just saw Kit take cover, then runs around the corner. But he's not there. She roars with frustration and continues the hunt. Cut to Solna.
Check your fire, Sid. Some of those containers are explosive.
Sid's not listening. She whips around another corner and fires, hitting nothing but metal shipping crates. Kit sits with his back against an orange barrel with some bright stickers on it. The symbol is foreign, but it definitely means flammable. Kit is hyperventilating, his hands on his head, including the hand holding his pistol.
Hold it!
Solna emerges from the stacks, rifle trained at Kit's head. Kit's face drops. Cut back to space. Sunroll's arrow takes a superficial hit from an Eridai fighter that passes overhead. It's the Castaway. She's already being pursued by two other arrows, so Roll shakes it off and stays on course, until Castaway pulls a fancy trick, cutting her engines and flipping over to fire her forward guns at its pursuers, all while maintaining her momentum away from them. Castaway's shots tear through the pursuing arrows, one after another. Their fuel supplies explode in a brief flash before they're extinguished by the vacuum of space.
Damn it!
Furious, Roll pulls off his course to pursue. He's being drawn away from the stone hammer. On its surface, the boarding party can finally stop dodging bullets. We see Shifro start cutting into the hull, a laser in each of his 4 hands. Cut to the bridge of the Swift Sword. Commander Zozo receives a report.
Our infantry has finally breached the stone hammer's outer hull, Commander. Wait, looks like we already have someone inside.
What? Who?
Back to the cargo bay. Solna's rifle is trained on Kit.
Drop the gun on your knees and cross your ankles.
Kit immediately complies. Now Sid appears from around a different corner. Kit is surrounded. Sid trains her rifle at Kit, barely holding together.
I'm gonna carve your heart out, little man.
Easy, Sid. That's a gas canister.
You understand me? You're gonna die screaming.
Solna lowers her weapon and reaches out to Sid.
He will, I promise. Let's just get him out of the cargo bay.
Sid's eyes flick to Solna for just a moment, long enough for Kit to uncross his ankles and make a break for it. Sid reflexively fires her weapon. The bullet flies over Kit's head and punctures the canister behind him, spraying lit flammable gas right into Sid's face. She screams and falls backwards, dropping her rifle and clawing at her burning face. Her rifle, still swinging from a strap on her shoulder, superheats and explodes, killing her instantly. Solna runs after Kit, who hurries towards the hole he cut in the deck. She tackles him, and they wrestle on the metal deck plate. Both their weapons slide out of reach. Cut to the bridge. Father Roll watches a display of where Eridai soldiers are breaching the hull. Seal emergency bulkheads behind them. If we can't keep them out, at least we can keep the air in. Cut to a corridor where an Eridai soldier kicks open a service vent and sprays fire at a huddle of armed Ley-to before they can react. More Ley-to fire back, shooting the soldier down and unloading into the vent where Shifro takes cover. From the other side, the Ley-to child soldier sprays bullets his way. Cut to space. Sunroll follows behind the Castaway. They've been drawn far from the field of battle, but now the Castaway has finally turned its nose back towards the Swift Sword and the Stone Hammer. Sunroll pursues. Roll keeps firing at the Castaway, but she's too slippery and he can't land a shot. Frustrated, Roll slams his fist hard against his controls, and in that precise moment, everything slows down to a nearly complete stop. The rounds whizzing past the Castaway's fighter. The bullets exchanged between Eridai boarders and Ley-to defenders. The bubbles in Commander Zozo's drink. Solna's fist as it rains down onto a pinned Kit. Inside the engine cores of both starships, the nanoscopic engines stop turning. And just for an instant, each of these images seems to divide into two, as if being drawn apart by some invisible force. Solna's fist clocks Kit hard in the jaw. Normal time is resumed. Then, suddenly, the lights above her in the cargo bay begin to flicker, then go out. Cut to the corridor battle. Here, too, the lights go out, except muzzle flashes from rifles. On the bridge of the stone hammer, everything shuts off, and now the only light is from the stars out the window. In the cockpit of Sunroll's Arrow, the controls go dead. Outside, his engine dies. So does the engine of the Castaway in front of him. On the bridge of the Swiftsword, the lights shut off, leaving Commander Zozo in total darkness. Cut to a top-down view of the entire space battle. Every ship now flies in a perfectly straight line, carried by the momentum, their engines dead in space. End of Act 1. If you're listening to this, then there is a 100% likelihood that you are at least a little bit interested in space sci-fi with a quirky sense of humor. So, why not check out Dim Stars, a novel of outer space shenanigans by Brian P. Rubin, one of the sponsors for today's episode. Here's a little bit about the book. Kenzie Washington, 14-year-old girl genius, signs up for a 2-week tour as a cadet on the spaceship of her idol, Captain Dash Drake. Too bad Dash, who once saved the galaxy from evil forgers, is a broke loser and is much less than meets the eye. When an intergalactic evil appears and launches an attack, Dash, Kenzie, and the ship's crew escape, making them the next target. On the run and low on gas, Dash and Kenzie encounter cannibal space pirates, catastrophic equipment failure, and a cyborg who's kind of a jerk. Kenzie is determined to discover the bad guy's secret plan, but for her to succeed, Dash is to keep his brilliant, annoying cadet from getting killed, which is a lot harder than it sounds. And hey, you know what, folks? You got a week to kill before part 2 of Stonehammer drops, so consider checking out Dim Stars in the meantime. You can find it wherever you buy books, or check out dimstarsbook.com for more information. Now about that Stonehammer. Dalton, your thoughts?
I'm digging it.
Yay!
I'm digging it a lot. And I found once I had sort of the groundwork laid by you in the intro segment, I was able to follow it very well.
Okay.
Maybe it's also because my script is highlighted, and so it's easier to see the names and everything, but hopefully it's easy for people to follow. This
is one, especially with all the proper nouns, that if you are usually an audio listener, I do recommend popping open the video feed on either YouTube or Spotify so you can read it as you listen.
Yeah.
Because it will make it a lot easier.
So every time Sun Rural Juror comes up, you can see what that is. No, I am really liking it. And you know that one thing that I've been a stickler about is hitting certain beats by different page counts, right? Because this is something that, as I have been trying to get a screenplay put out there, feedback that I've consistently gotten is like where things need to kick into high gear, and it has to happen pretty early in... especially like a screenplay where you're trying to hook someone new, you know, for the first time, which we are trying to do here. And you get to our first like big space battle on page 20, which is great. I think that was something I was looking for is like, do we get into the meat of the action early enough?
Well, credit where it's due, that's something that you pushed me towards.
Yes.
And I tried really hard to make sure that it wasn't too much of a thing. There were a lot more subplots aboard the Stonehammer in my first draft that are almost all gone now.
I think you have a good amount here.
Yeah,
like, I
feel
feel
there's
like
plenty going on.
Yeah, I think any more, and especially in an audio medium, it would become hard to follow if we were juggling too many threads. Especially
I
once...
cut 3 entire characters from the Stonehammer crew.
And there's still a lot on the Stonehammer crew.
Yeah, there's plenty.
Yeah.
We did just kill 2 of them.
Yes.
Who used to have larger roles, which is why I bothered to give them actors.
So I do have a question.
Yeah.
The flammable gas.
Yes.
This is a nitpicky CinemaSins thing, but it's also just maybe so I can visualize it. It seems like when I picture a flammable gas, I picture just a normal gas, but when it is exposed to a spark, it catches fire. But this seems to be a gas that does have a heat effect. Like it causes the gun to overheat. It burns Sid's face. What are the chemical properties of this gas?
Don't worry about it.
Okay. But it's a hot gas.
It's a hot gas.
It's a hot gas.
I suppose what I could have done is just have it be a hot gas and not have it burn, but this was a better visual, and because it's sci-fi, I kind of fuck around sometimes. It's a hot gas. It's a hot gas.
Let's say it's green.
Yeah,
you know?
Why not? It kills Becky Lynch. So
wait, is it Becky
Rebecca
Lynch?
Quinn is Becky Lynch.
Oh, right. Yeah.
And I had picked her for this. She's actually going to be in a Star Trek next year. And again, this was a larger role, as was the role that I gave Louis Tan. He has one line now.
Who's Louis Tan?
Brink. Sid's
No, I mean, like, who
boyfriend.
is he in real life?
He is a martial artist and a star or supporting cast member of a lot of schlocky action stuff, including he plays the original character nobody cares about in the new Mortal Kombat movie. He's in the final season of Cobra Kai and a couple other things.
He was Shatterstar and Deadpool 2.
And he was Shatterstar, right?
And Deadpool and Wolverine.
I wanted somebody who was mainly going to be able to do a physical performance and like be a good combat stuff. Like sometimes I just want a good action actor.
Does not have a photo on Wikipedia.
He never had much to do. It was mainly he needed to be good looking and have chemistry with Becky Lynch and be able to realistically kill some guys. So I cast
why not
him.
Seth Rollins?
Because he just that was too lame to cast Becky and Seth together. And also, there's a thing you got to do when you're doing a fictional world that's like not when you're doing human-like characters in space and they're not from Earth. I think there's like kind of a mandate to be really particular about diversifying your crew as much and cast as much as possible because we're trying to convey that people from this planet are from as much of a range of like phenotypes as we have. You don't want to create the idea, especially in this script, that any of these groups is meant to represent any existing nationality or ethnic group. It's a drag that I had to cut Shohreh Aghdashloo's character. She was originally a character named Mother Beale, who was responsible for raising all the children on the ship. And there was also a character that was written for Greg Grunberg, who was named Father Zen, and he was the gut. Like they all have nicknames, they all have like titles. There was the head, the heart, the womb, and the gut, and he was just the cook.
Now, so that means J.J. Abrams is producing this.
Well, not anymore. He got pissed when I cut Greg Grunberg's character. He's out.
Speaking of, did we talk about the director for this one? We
didn't talk about it earlier. We talked about
it
it a couple weeks ago. I chose Drew Goddard because I wanted somebody who can do heightened genre riffs. And also, like, it's undeniable that there's a certain, like, Joss Whedon mutant enemy flavor to this. I'm not going to ask Joss Whedon.
No.
Nor would I, even if there weren't, like, personal reasons not to. He's got too much of, like, Joss Whedon makes it becomes a Joss Whedon movie. And this is no disrespect to Drew Goddard, but Drew Goddard, I believe, could do this without, like, jossing it all up. You know what I mean? It just felt like a good fit. I was trying to pick somebody who hadn't done a space movie before. He hasn't done a lot of features. And anyway, that just felt like a fit. I don't think it necessarily helps people to create an image in their head for what the movie will look like, but I do think it should probably help with tone management. This is the guy who did Cabin in the Woods. And this is got a little bit of that flavor in there, right? Like I got to play all of the stuff from the genre totally straight, but the characters are kind of goofy.
Yeah, I like that. I like the opposing audience perspective on either side. Like I like that our Ley-to side is very capable, militaristic, and we see their competency, while on the
Eridai. Well, Eridai noun form, Eridai adjective.
Okay, the Eridai side, we have this underdog story of this like fuck up who just kind of stumbles onto a spaceship, which is a fun. It would be a lot less dynamic if we were just following like two bridge captains, right? And they were our two main characters. I mean, you could make that interesting. In fact, I think someone in the predictions even said like, oh, we were going to follow like two bridge captains that have a begrudging respect for each other, but like also must be enemies, you know? But I think this is more fun where you have like the sort of slapsticky, doesn't know what he's doing character, and then the very capable. And on either side, I think you've done a good job of setting up the sort of main viewer identification character, both being underdogs in different ways. You have Manny Jacinto, Kit, who is just a dumb worker under capitalism trying to make some money and repay his debts. And then on the other side, you have Solna, who is, unlike Kit, a very capable fighter and soldier, but does not fit in with the rest of her crew and is sort of a lone wolf. And so I think those are very different, but each you can kind of relate to in different ways. I do worry a bit because I know you want us to kind of see both sides equally. Well, that now Kit's a little more relatable, and that at this point in the story, people might be rooting for the Eridai more because of Kit's like massive underdog status and his wage slave under capitalism status.
Well, yeah, the way I've been describing him in my head and to my wife is that Kit is a speed bag being pummeled by capitalism. And every time he gets hit, he just swings right back and gets hit again.
Yeah.
Which is how I think a lot of us feel a lot of the time.
Yeah.
But so what I kind of am aiming for here, and I feel like we're into this far enough that I feel like I can talk about this without like painting the perception too much. And it's more like this is a way that you can kind of evaluate my success. Knowing our audience, I know that like the cool piratical collectivist group is going to have a little bit of built-in sympathy as being not the capitalist, like culturally imperialist implied culture, right?
Mm-hmm.
Ours is a countercultural audience, right? And so the bias off the bat would be for, these guys are refugees. Their planet got killed, right? These are the good guys.
We like the team of the Ley-to more because of what they're fighting for, but also maybe on an individual level, we like Kit more because he's more like the audience. And so that is a good way to balance it. That's the way to balance it, right? Because like the way that I started this conflict is kind of trying to create each of these cultures from the seed of one is a fiercely collectivist society and one is a fiercely individualistic society. Mm-hmm. Because I am not opposed to either of these things in certain measure. Yeah. Right. I think there's levels of collectivism that are toxic and dangerous, and there's certainly levels of individualism that are toxic and dangerous. Mm-hmm. And so I tried to grow each of these cultures as organically as I could while maintaining that as the core conflict between them culturally. Circumstances have created the conflict that they're literally doing, right? But like the things for them to represent. We have Solna, who is in a collectivist society and kind of just wants to do her own thing. And you have Kit, who's an individualist society, but cannot make it on his own. Yeah. And needs a little bit more community, maybe.
Yeah. And so these are problems I think that people can relate to. And like depending on their relationship to their community, hopefully they can relate to both of these societies to an extent. And I do want there to be an extent to which you can argue about the circumstances they're fighting about right now and who's in the right and who's in the wrong or whatever, and we'll get more details about it. But that's sort of irrelevant to me. Because as I talked about in the first episode of the Pod Universe, I think war is stupid. Yeah. And I think that really the only people who win in wars are the people who are profiting from the machinery of war. And the losers are everyone fighting in it or around the people fighting in it or living in the places where it's being fought. So I kind of wanted the conflict to be almost like it's the background story. Let's care about these people who are fighting it because that's ultimately what's happening. People fight wars for countries which aren't real.
Yeah. Now, my big concern is in this cliffhanger that you left us off with, because it is not explained yet what caused everybody's ships to freak out. But I have a theory, and if my theory is correct, then it means you and I have different understandings of how the pod universe works.
Okay.
That could have consequences on things as soon as Los Alamos and as far away as the finale of our universe.
Okay.
But
I feel like
I've
been very explicit about the physics of this in our script of Pod People and a lot of our conversations. We can talk about it off the air and we can figure out this is science fiction. It's not science. We can figure out a way to make it all work.
We'll find a way to square the circle, but okay. I'm a little anxious about it, but we will see. We will see how it all turns out. But I think we should dive into Act 2.
All right. Act 2. Cut to the Stonehammer Bridge, where dim red emergency lighting has finally kicked in. Father Roll tries to keep calm as the bridge crew struggles with their lifeless controls. What the hell? Mother Woe, can you hear me? What happened? Mother Woe? No answer. Cut to the engine room, also lit by red emergency lights and the fading glow of the spherical energy core. Mother Woe and her team scramble to make sense of what's happened.
Mother Woe to bridge. Does anyone read?
Mother Woe watches in shock at the energy core as its light goes out. Cut to the cargo bay. Solna knocks Kit onto his back and pins him to the floor under one knee.
What have you done?
I didn't do anything. I'm just here for the cargo, I swear.
You killed my brother and sister.
I'm sorry, I didn't want any of this.
You killed my planet.
Lady, I swear to God, I'd never even heard of you people until I started this job 3 weeks ago.
Solna sees the fear in Kit's eyes and, surprisingly, innocence. She hesitates. Cut to Sun Roll in the cockpit of his Arrow. His controls are dead and his engine is off. Roll looks ahead at the fighter in front of him. It's also adrift. It appears to be stationary, but this is an illusion caused by both craft continuing to travel at the same speed. Unable to get a good look at much from his cockpit, he pops open the canopy and steps out onto the fuselage. magnetizing his boots to the metal. Riding atop his drifting arrow, he can see enough of the battlefield ahead to tell that no one's engines are burning. Everything's adrift.
What the hell?
Sunroll looks ahead. His distance to the Eridai fighter isn't closing, but his distance to the stone hammer definitely is. He's headed straight for it.
Oh shit.
Cut to the stone hammer engine room. Mother Woe and her team work frantically.
Have we tried a full remote reboot of the nano engines?
Yes, and we've double-checked their status with handheld equipment. There's nothing wrong with the nano engines except they're not turning.
But that's impossible. Unless...
In the corner of the engine room, someone slides down a ladder from above deck. It's Father Roll.
Father Roll, what are you doing here?
Everything's gone dead on the bridge, and the head's not much use if the heart's not pumping. Can you explain what's happened?
I can only come up with one explanation, and it's ridiculous.
Well, something's taken out every ship in the system simultaneously, which ought to be impossible, so I'm willing to entertain anything.
Okay. How much do you know about electronic nano engines?
I know we switched over to nano engines from the old fusion core 2 generations ago.
Everyone did, because the energy output is outrageous and it's supposedly malfunction-proof. All engines operate on the same basic mechanical principle, generating energy by turning a wheel. The faster you turn it, the more power you generate. For a long time, we tried to turn larger wheels using more volatile fuels until someone at SyncsCorp thought to utilize the motion of something that already spins naturally at nearly infinite speed forever.
Electrons.
Right. Instead of bigger, they went smaller, creating nanoscopic engines that attach to atomic nuclei and are spun around by orbiting electrons. That's what gives modern starships enough power to travel faster than light and also maintain the relativity dampening fields that prevent time dilation. Each of our fighter craft runs on 1,000 or so of those nano engines. The stone hammer's heart contains trillions. It's expected for some of them to break down and require replacement, but all of them breaking down at once is mathematically impossible. And yet, that's only half as crazy as what I think actually happened.
Like I said, I'll entertain anything.
I think the electrons stopped spinning.
Which electrons?
All of them.
Cut to the bridge of the Swift Sword, where each member of the crew scrambles about with their own individual flashlight. It's very hard to see anything. The most steady of those lights is perched on Commander Zozo's shoulder.
That's impossible.
It's shining right into the compound eyes of some poor insectoid engineer, Yuli Zitho 445, voice of Jenny Slate. Her dozens of eyelids strain against the light.
Yes, it is, Commander, but it's also what all of our instruments are telling us. Somehow every molecule within scanning range has suspended its normal pattern of movement. Electrons that used to be in superposition are now practically stationary. Our nano engines are useless.
Is there any way this could be some sort of Ley-to attack?
Not unless they've discovered a way to alter the fundamental physical properties of the universe.
So we're dealing with some sort of act of God. Is there any way we can trace the anomaly to its point of origin?
We're working the problem now, ma'am.
All right. That'll be all, engineer.
My pleasure, Commander.
The engineer just stands there, like she's waiting for something.
Seriously? You want a tip? We're in a blackout. How am I even supposed to access my wallet?
Beepo pops into view between them. Don't worry! Now a second Beepo appears, seemingly projected from the engineer's head, though both are only VR images being shared by the two officers.
We're powered by your central nervous systems. As long as you're alive, you'll never get rid of us.
The two Beepos dance towards each other in do-si-do. The engineer grins. Zozo grimaces. Cut to the Stonehammer cargo bay. Solna pulls hard at the heavy metal door, which is sealed shut. Her rifle hangs from a strap on her shoulder. Behind her, Kit is on his knees, ankles crossed, hands on his head, watching Solna. Kit whispers, seemingly to himself.
Beepo, are you there?
The cartoon robot pops into his field of vision, invisible to anyone else. I'm always with you, friend. Like your favorite song.
Terrific. Can you help me get out of here?
I'm sorry, I'm just a projection. But if you can identify your captor, I can look up if they're the subject of any active warrants or bounties.
We're not exactly on a first-name basis. She's probably going to kill me.
When in a hostage situation, the smartest thing to do is to get on your captor's good side. Show her your winning personality. Kit shakes his head, dismissing Beepo. He sees Solna struggling with the door.
Do you want to let me try it?
No. You stay right where you are, or I'll shoot you in the head.
Okay. Just offering to help.
The last time the Ley-to accepted help from the Eridai, you helped yourselves to the molten core of our planet.
Hey, that's not how it happened. The destruction of Ley-to was a mining accident. Accidents happen. That's just a fact of life.
6 billion of my people were killed in your fact of life.
Kit sits up.
You keep saying you like I had something to do with it. This all happened 700 years before I was born.
Solna turns around. Kit drops flat on the ground. She walks towards him, rifle in hand. She presses the muzzle of it against the Sync Corp insignia on his chest.
As long as you wear that uniform, when I say you, I mean you.
Kit winces, waits to hear the gunshot that will end his life. But instead, Solna turns around and goes back to working on the door. Behind her, Kit unclenches, then looks down at his uniform. On Solna, as she heaves fruitlessly at the crease in the door, we hear the sound of a zipper. She whips around with her rifle at the ready to find Kit, still low to the ground, wriggling out of his uniform. He flinches again, but when she doesn't fire, he stands to his full height and lets the jumpsuit fall, leaving him in a tank top and shorts. He puts his hands up.
There. That better?
Solna eyes him up and down. She lets out a sigh and lowers her rifle. Unfortunately, that is better. Cut to the two unpowered fighter craft shooting through space in a straight line towards the stone hammer. Sunroll stands magnetized to the top of his fighter craft, up shit creek without a paddle.
Okay. No engines, no comms, and within 5 minutes, that Eridai fighter is going to crash right into the stone hammer, followed very shortly by me. Not really how I was hoping to go out.
Sunroll paces the fuselage, magnetizing and demagnetizing each boot with practiced ease.
I guess my luck had to run out.
Looking aft, something catches his eye.
Someday?
Sunroll smirks. Still clinging to the arrow's tail fin is one Eridai zipline launcher. Cut to the dimly lit cargo bay. Solna and Kit pull together at the sealed metal door. It doesn't budge. They each take a breather, sitting with their backs against the stubborn hatch. Both of their eyes land on the limp body of daughter Sid, charred raw from the chest up. Kit shuts his eyes.
Look, I'm really sorry about your sister. Your brother, too. I never wanted to hurt anybody.
You're a soldier. That's what soldiers do.
Well, I never did before today. Mostly I just stood around and guarded stuff. I was supposed to do that for 3 years just to build up a resume, and then I could get hired somewhere doing, well, anything. I'm just trying to take control of my life. Can you understand that?
Solna just stares at Sid's body. Cut to the Stonehammer engine room. Mother Woe and a few of her crew are rewiring the place, pulling cables from the walls to patch into old outputs. Father Roll has rolled up his sleeves to help out. He wipes his brow and looks over at Woe, who makes a final connection. For a moment, all the emergency lights cut out. Then, after just a second too long, they switch back on. Power is fully restored to the room. Lights, consoles, everything but the main power core, which is still dim. Cut to the cargo bay. Kit and Solna jump to their feet as the door they've been leaning on finally opens. In the engine room, the crew applauds. There's a brief dogpile on Woe, who shoos them away like a grouchy old football coach. Nice work, everyone! A voice through the internal comms. No hologram, just audio.
Bridge to engine room.
We hear you, Bridge! We can hear the bridge crew celebrate.
Good to hear your voice, Father Roll. How'd you fix it?
We didn't. The EN core is still offline, but we rerouted the main power grid to feed off the backup system from the old fusion reactor. It's not enough to get us moving, but we've got lights, comms, and hopefully sensors.
Bridge, see if you can restore internal monitors. We still got intruders on board. Cut to Kit walking down a corridor in his skivvies. Solna 6 paces behind with her rifle trained at its back.
So now what?
Now we join up with the rest of my family. Then we'll decide what to do with you.
Kit stops walking. Looks over his shoulder at Solna.
So you're not definitely going to kill me. Like if that was a sure thing, you would have just done it already.
Solna prods him forward with her rifle.
Walk. 6 paces ahead of me.
Kit starts walking.
Sure. Great. My name's Kit, by the way. Kit Alta Brio 59376.
I don't care.
Are you going to tell me your name?
No.
They come to the door to an elevator, much lighter than the cargo doors. At Solna's urging, Kit pries it open. There's no elevator, just a deep, empty shaft with handholds on one side.
We'll have to climb up.
How far?
12 decks.
Kit doesn't like the sound of that, but...
You going to be able to do all that climbing, pointing a gun at me?
Solna thinks about it, then looks at Kit. Lean, handsome, pathetic. She lowers her weapon and gestures to the door.
You're going first.
Kit smirks and steps into the elevator shaft, shimmies toward the ladder and commences the long climb. Cut to Sunroll on top of his arrow. Step by step, Roll makes his way towards the tail. There's the zip line, with one end magnetically attached to the tail and a long metal cable floating behind. Roll inspects the end that's fixed to his arrow. There are no controls on it.
Looks like we're going for a walk.
Roll pulls a carabiner from a pocket on his flight suit. He fixes it to a loop on his belt. He takes a deep breath and squeezes his hands tight, which tells his boots to demagnetize. He begins to float off of the surface of the arrow. He grabs tight onto the metal cable, clicks the carabiner onto it, and starts climbing down, hand over hand. The zipline launcher on the other end is still being held in the death grip of that poor Eridai soldier's severed arm. He reaches the end of the line and detaches the carabiner, clinging tightly to the cable and reaching for the launcher. He grabs not the launcher itself, but the dead-gloved hand wrapped around it. He tries to rend the launcher from its grip. Damn, is it on there tight.
Come on, let go!
Roll grabs onto the dead hand with both of his own and pries hard against its stiff fingers. The grip breaks, which means Roll is now holding onto a hand that's not holding onto anything. He quickly discards it and grabs tightly onto the zipline launcher. He flicks a switch on the side and the line retracts, pulling him towards his arrow. When it's pulled all the way in, Roll remagnetizes his boots and disconnects the cable from the tail of his arrow. He walks to the nose of his craft and stares out ahead at the tail of the Eridai fighter.
All right, easy part's over.
Cut to Kit and Solna climbing up the elevator shaft. They've ascended a few decks. Solna's got a light sweat going. Kit is spent.
I need a minute.
There's 3 more decks to go.
Kit gestures to the nearest elevator door.
I just need to catch my breath.
He shimmies over and starts prying open the door.
Wait, stop!
Solna hurries up the ladder. She sees Kit disappear through the threshold. She reaches the open elevator door and immediately readies her rifle, steadying herself on the ladder with one hand. She whips inside, expecting trouble, only to find Kit sitting against the bulkhead, just taking a breather like he said he would.
Something wrong?
Solna lowers her weapon and climbs onto the deck. She sits against the bulkhead, her rifle beside her.
Do you think I was going to run off? Where would I go? I don't know the layout of this place, and the first Ley-to I run into would shoot me dead. Right?
Yes.
So why haven't you? I mean, what am I worth to you alive?
Nothing. I don't know. You just seem different, that's all.
Different from what? The Eridai? We're all different. That's kind of our thing. There's all kinds of us, from dozens of planets, species, and cultures, all mixed up into a big blender. Come from anywhere, be anything. That's our motto.
What are you trying to be?
I'm not sure. I've never been able to settle on one thing to do. And if you take too long to decide, then it's too late to go to school or become an apprentice in whatever that thing is. Assuming you can afford that, which I can't. Hence, the military, which is supposed to give you a leg up in life. Somehow I ended up worse off than I started. I guess I'm just not smart enough to compete.
I never had to wonder what I was going to be. The elders on my old ship always knew I had potential.
To be a fighter?
We're all fighters. But being a fist is different. You have to be better. You have to be able to protect your brothers and sisters who have other responsibilities and can't train as hard. I was the best, so they made me left hand. And then they traded me away.
Traded you?
My old ship wasn't equipped for this scale of combat. I'd outgrown them. The Stonehammer's left hand had just been killed and they needed someone like me. In exchange, they traded a cook, 6 months worth of food, and 2 crates of ammunition. Just for me. It was very flattering, and I was proud. I could finally do what I was meant to do.
To kill Eridai?
To stop you from destroying more worlds. To punish you for destroying ours. To collect on the debt you owe us for our 6 billion dead.
Okay. How much?
Excuse me?
You say we owe you. How much do we owe? What's a life worth? What's a planet worth? Does the 5 billion clay of deuterium you lifted from my base chip away at the principal, or is that just interest? You killed 6 of my unit. I killed 2 of your family. So you're up by 4, right?
Shut up.
Look, I don't know about war or loss or suffering. I'm lucky that way. But I know a lot about debt. And I know that as long as a creditor thinks they can squeeze a little more out of you, they'll do it. They'll squeeze until there's nothing left. And it still won't make them whole.
Solna sits with this for a moment. She looks over her shoulder at her rifle. Then to him.
Solna. My name is Solna.
Kit sits up and reaches his hand across the corridor.
Nice to meet you, Solna.
Solna takes his hand. They shake. Cut to Kit's POV. He's looking in Solna's eyes, but just off to the side, text is flashing. Our focus shifts away from her face so we can read, bounty value, 80,000 clay. Cut to Sunroll standing on top of his arrow. He's looking forward at the Eridai fighter, and at the stone hammer ahead of that, which is getting rapidly closer. Sunroll holds up the zipline launcher, aims, and fires. The magnet connects to the fuselage of the Eridai fighter, somewhere behind the cockpit. In space, this makes no sound, but in the pressurized cockpit, the impact catches the attention of the helmeted castaway. Outside, Sunroll demagnetizes his boots and lets the zipline pull him quickly to the Eridai fighter. Before his boots make contact, the fighter's canopy swings open, startling him. He forgets to magnetize his boots and bounces off the fuselage. He still clings to the zip launcher, which reels him towards the fighter's tail fin. He clings to it, trying to halt its momentum towards open space. Before Sunroll can get his bearings, the castaway flips out of her cockpit and kicks him in the visor of his helmet. She flips backwards off of him and magnetizes her boots.
Wow, you're nimble.
He magnetizes his boots and shakes off the impact. He clips the launcher to his belt.
But I'm Ley-to.
He runs at her, now managing his boot magnets with ease, always keeping one foot down while the other steps forward or strikes. He's good. The castaway is better. Just as she was in her fighter, the castaway is at home in space, leveraging her weightlessness to gain every advantage. The castaway tries to pry the zip launcher off of Roll's belt, then changes tactics. She takes hold and aims it while it's still attached to him, then fires a line into space, towards the Swift sword. The line zips off into the distance before locking onto its hull. She presses the button to retract, then wraps her arms around his waist.
What are you...
The line goes taut. The launcher pulls hard against Roll's belt, but his boots are still magnetized to the fighter. The fighter's got too much mass, won't budge, but the launcher is pulling at his spacesuit now. There's too much tension to unclip. Roll looks out ahead of the fighter. It's seconds from impact with a stone hammer.
Ah, damn it!
Hull squeezes his gloves and his boots demagnetize. He and the castaway are ripped away from the scene, dragged by the zip line towards the Swift sword. Behind them, the Eridai fighter crashes into the stone hammer and breaks apart. Cut to the stone hammer bridge. Father Roll arrives just as the ship is rocked from the impact. What was that?
Impact from an Eridai fighter. There's another disabled craft on a collision course.
Through the window, we see Sun Roll's abandoned arrow approach the hull. Whose arrow is that? The ops officer checks their console.
It's Sun Roll.
Father Roll's eyes open wide. He watches helplessly out the window as his son's fighter falls out of the stars and makes violent impact. Out in space, we watch that impact and brief fiery explosion from over the shoulders of Sun Roll and the Eridai pilot as they zip towards the Swift sword. Cut to a hangar aboard the Swift sword, where Sun Roll and the castaway fly through an airlock force field. Suddenly in the grip of the vessel's artificial gravity, the two pilots lose their grip on each other and roll to a stop. They've both had the wind knocked out of them. Sun Roll gets back to his feet first. He throws away his helmet and prepares to charge at the castaway until a dozen red laser sights find him. Then a voice rings out.
Hold your fire.
It's the pilot. The soldiers lower their weapons. Sun Roll stares at the pilot.
Who are you?
The pilot reveals her helmet, revealing her face. It's a woman in her early 40s, portrayed in the film by Ruth Negga, and her face is adorned with white tattoos.
My name's Trey Law, and if you want to live, you'll do exactly as I say.
End of part 1. This episode is brought to you by the DC3 Cast, a weekly podcast about DC Comics by 3 former contributors to multiversitycomics.com. For over a decade, the DC3 Cast has looked at DC Comics from a number of different angles. They review the latest DC Comics releases, look ahead at what's coming out soon, and do in-depth retrospectives on comics past. Today, I listened to their 500th episode, which is about the Green Lantern issues that came out right around the time the Crisis happened. I thought that was kind of a cool experience because I have not read those particular books, but they are kind of formative to what Green Lantern became after the Crisis event. Also, their theme music sounds like Block Party, which I think is fun. Anyway, they're currently in the process of exploring all of the history of DC from Crisis on Infinite Earths to today. And they're very proud of their Patreon-supported Discord server, which they call the best non-pod universe Discord server on the internet. Thank you to Zach, Vince, and Brian of the DC3 Cast for supporting our show. And thank you, listener, for checking them out. You can find them at dc3cast.com or on your podcatcher of choice. Dalton,
All right.
how'd that go?
I think that went very well. I like how you are building things. I think you are giving your Act 2 space to breathe and allowing for things to happen. You've got a nice mix of character stuff between Solna,
and Kit.
I'm hard with the...
Sorry,
yeah.
there's Solna and there's also Sun Roll. I know that's hard.
Yeah.
Also, take a quick second to thank our returning
Yes.
voice actor for the day, Sarah Norcross. Thank you so much.
Cut to camera C. Yeah.
Sarah, thank you once again for lending your voice to our show.
That time camera...
anytime.
Oh, sorry, go. I
Yeah,
interrupted.
anytime.
That time camera C was not inaccurate. Even though that was not actual footage, she was doing the exact same thing.
There's a picture of Sarah, like a nice professional headshot of Sarah on the shelf off camera. And I kind of think it would be funny that if we did have a third camera,
Yeah.
we don't point it at Sarah. We point it towards the picture of Sarah.
We pointed at 23-year-old Sarah.
I think 23 is generous.
Generous in which direction?
I think I might be 22 in that photo.
There we go.
Okay, big difference.
Yeah, I really like what you're doing here. Just to be clear, the twist there is that what do we call the pilot?
The castaway.
The castaway is not Eridai, even though she's fighting for the Eridai. She is actually a Ley-to.
Ley-to.
A lot of proper nouns.
Yeah, I'm not looking at my iPad.
And super astute listeners will recognize the name that she gives, Trela, which is also the name of the hero in the storybook that Sunroll was reading in the mess hall right before this all went down.
I am not an astute listener. I missed that.
Well, and here's the
entirely.
thing. We give you a lot of information. I just figure, like, I almost want to cut that out now.
No,
I
I think
No,
no,
I
I think
think you
that's
should
good.
keep it.
I think you should keep that.
Let people go back and find it, but
she
that's all right.
also has the tattoos in a third color, which
Yeah.
implies a third ship, which is the ship.
I
from
was
the
wondering
story.
why you mentioned the tattoos like 4 times at the beginning of this episode, and
Yeah,
that is
that's
why.
why.
There's
That
a
is-
tattoo-related twist.
Yes. I mean, I think I hopefully made it clear that the implication that Salma's tattoos are red because she's not from here.
Oh, I thought it was because she was like important.
No, it's
Nah,
because she's from the
the other
Gullswing.
ship.
Yeah.
I'm catching on.
Yeah, she transferred here, they say like a season ago. We'll say like maybe 6 months. She hasn't been here very long.
We
which is
need Sarah on the show to just tell me all the details that I completely miss as I'm reading.
Sarah, is there
Um,
anything that's unclear to you so far in this script?
No, I think the reason it's unclear to Dalton is because it's running that fantasy line.
Mhm.
Like it is sci-fi, but it's like
It's
sci-fi.
got the structure.
Yeah, sci-fi fantasy rather than like sci-fi real world.
Yeah, it's got the structure of like the lost warrior from a previous time has returned,
Right.
you know, like that kind of thing, which not that I'm not saying I'm not liking it, but that can be why
It is one of the things that made me nervous about the script. I mean, obviously, we still have to stick the landing. We still have to see if the third act is going to check the boxes that you want for a third act. If it's gonna feel like a complete story while also leaving the door open for more stuff.
Mhm.
But I knowing that I kind of had a handicap coming in here that this is not a genre that you are like super into. And that
What do you mean? I loved the Star Trek collection that
It
we
has
did.
some Dune energy though.
I
Yeah.
mean,
Got a
thank
little
you.
Dune energy.
I didn't want it to
Doonergy.
feel too much like any one of the influences there. Like the keystone to begin with was Battlestar Galactica, and then I tried to push as far away from that as I could as we went. With heart from the fact that Battlestar Galactica is also ultimately an anti-war text about trying to end the cycle of violence.
I also
But-
have not seen Battlestar Galactica, so I also just like haven't seen most of the touchstones that
Yeah,
you're...
you don't remember Pirates of the Caribbean, which is really funny.
Nope.
You don't remember.
Yeah,
Oh, we talked
Sarah, you
about
weren't
this,
here
yeah.
for this. There's an early discussion portion. Dalton
I
has
saw it in theaters when I was 13.
By it.
It's-
Which one?
I've only seen the first 2.
What?
I saw them both in theaters when they came out.
It is so bizarre to me because, like, I'm not trying to put these movies on the same level in terms of their quality, but in terms of cultural cachet at the time, this is like saying you saw Star Wars and then forgot it.
I was never a pirate person, and so I saw them, and
Well,
it didn't
neither
have an
was
impact
I.
on me.
I'm gonna strap you to a chair and make you watch. Pirates of
Yo,
the
if we
Caribbean.
weren't going to be done with this recording at like 11:30 tonight, we should just throw it on.
Yeah,
But
and
Sarah will make you watch it.
Yeah, I wasn't really interested. I saw then bits and pieces at sleepovers, you know, in my early teens, but that's about all. But anyway,
Yeah.
we should wrap this up
Yes,
because
if
we
anything was unclear to you, dear reader or listener or viewer, please leave us a comment in the YouTube comment section or the Spotify comments, which we look at now.
We won't have time to address it on the next episode because we're recording it in about 10 minutes.
Yes, we're going right
I
into
do
it.
also want to say that I know you cast the person playing Sunroll,
Mhm.
but I didn't know who it was, so there was a little blank in my head that has been filled by Reb Brown in Space Mutiny.
Okay, that's really funny because RJ Kyler, what he is known for, probably by our audience the most, is that he plays Billy in the Power Rangers relaunch.
Oh, for sure. So
he's-
Reb Brown energy.
Oh, absolutely.
Yeah, so-
he also he's also in The Harder They Fall, and a movie that I also picked our Oliver from Cat People from called Emergency that I really like. He was in the Scream TV show, and he is about as different from Reb Brown as possible because Reb Brown is a big football player body.
Mhm.
RJ Kyler is lean and young and black.
I am picturing Reb Brown, and especially when he goes, damn it! I was picturing him in the little floor sweeper car, screaming and bailing out of it.
I almost cast Lil Nas X as someone.
But he's having some difficulties right now.
I don't really know what's up with Lil Nas
I didn't
X.
know. Oh,
But,
yeah.
is there a
having some
scandal of some sort?
He's having, it seems like a mental health crisis. that
Okay,
led
well
to
then
him
we don't
getting
need to put this
arrested.
on his plate right
Yeah,
now.
he's got his own stuff to deal with. But I am enjoying this a lot. I will have more to say next episode. We covered like 50 pages here, and we have like 30 next episode.
Yes, the
We'll have
next
a little
one
more
will be
time
a
for
little bit
discussion.
lighter, yeah.
But before we go, make sure check us out at patreon.com/Dylan and Dalton. As always, we are about to read the names of our patrons, but most importantly, we have a merch shop now.
That's right. Look at Dalton's hat.
I have a hat.
It's a
Pod
Universe
hat.
cap. I'm not wearing any Pod
and it
Universe
is
merch right
embroidered.
now. By the time this episode airs, if you're really digging Last Flight of the Stone Hammer so much that you want to buy the logo for it before you've even heard how the story ends, that'll be up there too.
Or the poster. So
and some key art from, I didn't even talk about this thing about the marketing. I guess I can talk about it next time. But our wonderful graphic designer, Kat Hopkins, did some really cool stuff for this that Dalton has not seen yet, but I have seen
not.
the work in product, the work in progress, and it looks fucking dope.
Yeah, obviously with the Dark Universe, people asked us for merch all the time. We weren't able to make it legally. We couldn't make money off that. But with the Pod Universe, we own everything. So we have tons of merch with the logo, but we also have Pod People inspired merch. All of Kat's posters are getting actual poster prints that you can buy
we saw
and hang up in your home.
Somebody in the Discord did buy and hang up a framed Pod People poster, and it looks so cool.
Yeah, Aaron gave it a very positive review, said it was the best poster print that he owns. So go check out shop.thepoduniverse.com, see if anything strikes your fancy, and we will continue adding as the saga continues. Check us out at patreon.com/Dylan and Dalton to join in on the conversation about this episode with other fans and to hear our bonus pod, which comes out once a month. And let's hear from our patrons now.
Thank you so much to our executive producers, Brent Dreyer, Brian Egan, Diana, Jonathan Morgantini, Matt Thackeray, Mike Lee Whiplash, Soonmot, and Speep for supporting us at $15 a month. We really, really appreciate it. And a big thanks to our studio executives, Alyssa the Pazuzu Apologist, Bill French, Beerus, Brandon Bullock, Jasper Stark, Joe Valiant, Cadle, Moose, and Rich Mays for supporting the show at $25 a month. We will be back in 7 days with part 2 of Last Flight of the Stonehammer.
See you then.
Until then,
you're
now
leaving. Leaving?
Yeah,
you are now
exiting. Sounds because entering and exiting.
Yeah.
I don't know. We're still working on it, but for now we'll say exiting. You are now exiting the Pod Universe.
Your ship is now coasting out of control out of the Pod Universe.
Do not adjust your set.